What up, though? Y'all know what it is. It's the Boss in the Sauce, live and direct. 2020. This is June 2020 right now. We getting close. If we was on normal schedule right now, we would be normal showing up right here today. But definitely feels more than wonderful to be hanging out with the Big Ragu. What's up, Big Ragu? How you feeling?
Doing good, my man. How you doing today?
Oh man, just another sunny day in California, as they say, man. Just
Yeah.
taking it one day at a time, staying safe, staying out the way, all that good stuff, and having a nice cocktail on Friday as well too.
I'll join you. It's kind of like it's like a hybrid. What is it? Friday Night Lounge slash special edition Boss in the Sauce. But yeah, you know what it is.
Special
It's
edition.
I'm not going to call it a reunion. I'll call it a reboot. So
Yeah, it's definitely not a reunion, but because nothing's never been disconnected. But definitely
right,
a
right.
reboot, man. Just a little bit of showing our face out here. We coming again to storm them again. Boston the Sauce Show, y'all seen it last year. Can't go nowhere but up from there. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
even think that we can start thinking about college football. Even as I did a little digging today, um, I smell college football a little bit. Big Ragu, how you feel about it?
Yeah. Well, the big news was I'm excited. I've been doing a little bit of studying on the recruiting side, because that's what we did early last year before we kicked the season off. We did all the breakdowns, we did the
Right.
returners, starters, the whole nine. But basically, just trying to tear down some of the information as it drips in, and then I did a little write up on the SEC recruitment. What's coming up this year for that, and then just start tearing it down more or less. But the big news was that the NCAA approved athletes to return for practice I think June 1st was it. So now
June.
it's kind.
Yeah, they
Go
hit
ahead.
the field. I think June 8th. I believe they
Or
hit the
June 8th.
field.
Okay, I know it was a few days back, but they with the approval, coming June 8th, like you said. So it's up to the universities, how they implement them on a case by case basis. So it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of different scenarios that are going to play out, but for the most part, things are pointing in that direction. We might have a shorter season, we might have a split season, but we're going to have football for sure. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think my personal opinion is that as soon as they open up a little bit, it won't be a long time before everything, the stadiums fill up again. I figure somewhere around December or something. Maybe we see the national championship with actually a crowd or something. But I think the
Yeah.
crowd does come back. But I got our guy Trot Wham backstage right now. And before I go any further, though, I'm getting some crazy thoughts right here. The big news is Big Ragu's taking it to the pen. So make sure y'all go follow Oz.com and make sure you look out for Big Ragu write-ups over there. And it's also our guy Gogi's over there doing write-ups as well at Oz.com. So make sure y'all
Yeah.
get at a shout out and go over there and check that out. But let's bring Wham in here with us.
What's going
Wham,
on,
how you
fellas? What's
feeling,
going
my
on?
brother? How you
Oh
feeling?
man,
There
How
he
I'm
you
all
is.
feeling?
right. I'm feeling blessed, man. You know how it is, bro. I'm feeling good. How about yourself, man? How y'all doing, man?
Same
Doing
old,
good,
same
Wham.
old.
Good to see
That's
you.
what's up.
Good to
That's
see you.
what's up, man. Good to see y'all too. And as well, I know Jay, the Sports Cake is doing write-ups there, and I know Clint, diehard MMA, the guy with the great podcast he has, they doing write-ups there on Oz.com as well. So that's a good look, bro. Go check that out, man.
Yeah.
Everybody for
We'll keep
sure,
it in the
bro.
family. That's
Yes,
what it's all
sir.
about. But
That's right.
But yeah, it was exciting. I got my first article. It's up. It's an article on
Nice.
Tennessee. I got Tennessee picked as a long shot to come in. I noticed that some of the odds, some of the action might have already turned Tennessee's way because that went from 100 to 1 down to like 60 in some spots. So we'll see. But anyways, a good read. And I appreciate the shout out on that.
Straight up, straight up, straight up, man. I'm feeling good though, man. Big ragu in the house, Dawson sauce. I had to make sure I just come here and just get some of this wisdom, man. I'm telling y'all, y'all getting sauce when y'all get these two together, bro.
Absolutely. You know, I had to break out the Boston and Saw shades. I ain't pulled these out since the Boston and Saw show, so I had to break out the Boston and Saw shades.
Yeah,
But well, we got Wham on here today too. Give us an update on the NBA.
yeah,
Wham
big news
talks.
there.
Wham talks gonna
Yeah,
be coming soon, so
for
definitely
sure.
had to get Wham on here and let y'all know what's happening. Wham, let them know what's going on with the
Yeah,
NBA,
Wham
man.
Talk. Yeah, Wham Talk back on Wednesday. We're gonna do it at 2 o'clock Wednesday. We're gonna get a nice afternoon day. I believe it should be like 5 o'clock Eastern time Wednesday. And pretty much we're just gonna go and break down what they believe is the schedule. Hopefully by then they make it official, but right now we kind of have to speculate what the schedule is gonna be looking like. The 8 games that's gonna be like the regular season, or the tune-up games right before we start the playoffs. So it's interesting stuff, man. NBA is coming back, y'all. I just want to I'm really here, man, to get the college football news, fellas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The NBA is pretty much taking over the things. There's so many variables. There's so much stuff to talk about. That's why we got to do a whole show. It's gonna come back Wednesday. When I talk Wednesday, we right back live, man. Let's get it.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm looking forward as the first specimen of sports that we get to come back, so I can start to determine what type of effect it's gonna have on the players and the game and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited,
Right.
to tell you the truth, to see it come back and see how that's gonna be played out. But
Yeah, well, it's
did
gonna. I could at least
what?
go. Let me at least go through the. I'm sorry, y'all. I could
Yeah,
at
go
least
ahead.
go through. I could at least go through like what the timeline of the season is gonna be. Pretty much on June 15th, the players are gonna, the overseas players, they're gonna be having to come back to the U.S. market that they, reside in. So the Jokic, those, Porzingis, Doncic, those guys got to be reporting in by the 15th, right? That's like 2 weeks away from now, is it? Or about next week, right? This is the 5th. Today's the 5th, so in 10
yeah,
days.
Fifth
So
or
10
sixth.
days, yeah, on 10 days pretty much. So they're gonna, pretty much checking in on them now, make sure they got everything together, get everything ready. They gotta be on their way out here. And from there on, they're gonna have everybody come back on the 21st. By then, the 22nd is gonna be the time when they do the coronavirus test. The COVID-19 test is gonna begin that time. And by the time the 30th happens of this month, that's when training camp is going to begin. So that's when they're actually, they're going to start having training camp. But even then, I don't think they're going to have everybody there at one point. I don't think everybody's going to be there until everyone gets to Orlando after all the tests come back. You know what I mean? So I don't think everyone is going to be able to integrate until all the tests come back. That's what's going to really happen here. And it's pretty interesting, fellas. And I know you guys are going to be able to contest to it. We have so much things to factor in now. Not only is it, regular, wear and tear on the body, but there's so much mental things going on right now. There's so much stuff going on in the world. There's so much things that's happening with these tests that if a player gets sick, we don't know the actual full breakdowns yet. So it is kind of premature still, even still, but we do got some concrete information to give out though for sure.
Yeah, it was all the headline was NBA. You know, in the sports world, everything was the NBA to talk and how excited these guys were, and then it was kind of amazing how they kind of put it all. I'm going to say they put it all together quick. It's been going on for a little bit of while, but we heard the rumblings a few months back. Once they started talking about maybe some timelines, they were talking about Vegas and Orlando, but I
Yeah,
guess Orlando because it's in Florida. I think with the way that the disease has been handled over here, and not as much as a lockdown situation, and Disney kind of being isolated. It just made sense for them because the housing facilities and everything
true.
being right there. They have like 3 major courts on site, so it's a pretty impressive. I don't know if you guys have ever been down to the Orlando Wide World Sports complex, which is the Disney property itself. But yeah, it's kind of impressive. I used to do a lot of amateur events down there, for baseball and stuff like that. And over the
Oh,
years, it's
cool.
grown, but they do it all. They do soccer, basketball, not so much football. They have limited amount of football, but they have baseball. A lot of AAU sports go there, especially basketball is big, and baseball is big down there, and soccer. Those are the 3 majors, and volleyball.
And like
So
tournaments like Adidas and Nike and stuff like that, they do
yeah,
tournaments out there
sure,
and stuff like that. Yeah, I
all the
know.
big
Yeah, for sure.
tournaments.
For sure. That's really interesting as well, man. Like the fact that they have to make a decision on either two states or two cities, Nevada or Florida. When they really looked at it, I did hear some rumblings that some of the older players like LeBron and Chris Paul didn't want the younger players to be exposed to like all the gambling and everything out there. That was one of
Yeah.
their factor ins. That was one of the factor ins. They didn't want to go to
Yeah,
Vegas. That was pretty
the
interesting.
mentoring took over in that regard.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
and I'm sure the players association, not butted heads, but they had to get their heads around it with the owners and the league officials and all that. So we're glad to see it happening, though. That's a positive sign.
For sure, for sure. It's pretty interesting. I do also I want to do touch on as well. I know you guys could definitely contest to this. We all seen what happened to Kevin Durant. As far as his injury,
Hmm.
that stuff was pretty horrific. It was one of those things that it was one of those early traumas that kind of led on to all the things that we've been dealing with. Like, oh wow, this is terrible to see. You know what I mean? We all expected Golden State to win and you know how that ended up playing out. So how do you guys
Right.
feel about him coming back? I honestly, in my opinion, I think if you got a chance to come back and possibly take this league by storm, which I believe he does, definitely come back, man. Come back and splash your presence. Especially since you did miss that finals, how you did it. But that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think, boss?
I totally agree. I mean, if you got opportunity to play, play. That's what you're there for. If you there really were there to play the game, you comfortable in the environment. You're not just sitting over there for the money. Then how about there and play? You well rested. You playing against other players that's been rested. So however you want to look at that, people being rested as being slower or being better. However you want to portray that situation with being rested for a bunch of players, that factor is there for all the players going back in it, no matter if you was injured before, whatever point of the game you was at. But so it's like a new start, and I think definitely he should start. You looking at a shorter season. Hey, you're gonna be at Disney World, man. Like, we don't want to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. He's already going to be there though. He's going to be there. He's going to probably travel with the team. He's part of the
Yeah.
team. He's probably going to still go. That's to make it even crazier because he's going to have a training camp to prepare. They're going to clear him. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those situations like, oh, you look good. You cooking everybody. He's going to be cooking everybody on his team. So it's only going to be a matter of time. Like, oh, just put him in there. Then put him in there. That's all I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
I seen a little bit of
Yeah,
footage on that up because I haven't been keeping up with a lot of the intel of the basketball news, but that was one of the things that I paid attention to yesterday. They were talking about. They were saying he was, practicing pretty well, and he looked, in pretty good shape. But they weren't sure if he was quite ready to step on the court yet. But in a competitive mode. But they said if they came down when it came down to the playoffs, how many games they playing before they get into the playoffs? Like 8 games or something like
So
that.
yeah,
Or,
yeah, they're gonna play about 8 games. The way it
yeah,
looks like because the way those eight teams that's kind of subtracted out of the season so far, they're going to condense the rest of the season, only use 8 games of the next upcoming games that they had left over. And it looks like, if that's the case, because it's not all the way concrete, this part right here is not all the way concrete because they're still ironing out a lot of details here. But the Nets looks like they're going to play the Clippers, the Kings, Wizards, Celtics, Magic, Clippers again, Magic again, and then the Blazers. Some of these teams might not even be, willing to participate. They would probably rather get a better draft pick. I'm kind of anticipating the Suns to be one of those teams because it looks like if their schedule is going to be what they're projecting it to be, it's going to be probably one of the toughest. And them being so close to the lottery, they might want to just, head out and be one of those tanking teams that's out there. Somebody gonna tank. That's how I feel too.
yeah. Well, they were saying that with the abbreviated schedule and him, trying to get back they didn't make any promises or said, you know, probably like a 70-30 type of deal here where he might not play versus playing. But they said if they advance in the playoffs, there was a possibility that he would take it to the court. They didn't say right off the get go, but like the team doctors were saying, everything would be like day to day. You know how they do that. So hopefully, we'd like to see him though for sure. Without question, no doubt about
Yeah,
it.
Oh, no doubt about it. That'll
Now,
be so
now
much more excited.
let me ask y'all all a question. I mean, me over here going back, I'm always looking for volatility, and everything we've been through in the past few months has been volatile. So going into entering back to sports betting, period, I'm kind of
Mm.
feeling like, and I want to know if you guys think I'm overthinking this, whatever, but I'm really licking my chops at plus money bets because I mean it's just like I said, it's a reset for everybody. That includes the line setters and the betters. So I think if we come off of it, even like we seen this happen in XFL recently. Like XFL, the line setters came out way off and had to adjust after like 3 or 4 weeks. And there was big time plus money on unders and all kinds of trends that happened up until that point. And I'm kind of licking my chops at the opportunity to get involved with this at this time in my life because this is the first time I've been at a level of capping to where I recognize this, and you know, even though all this type of opportunity has passed in the past, but what do y'all feel about that? Y'all licking y'all chops over there? Am I overthinking this?
I don't think you're. I don't think you're overthinking it. You're just trying to be a little savvy, like a smart gambler would be, right? You just don't want to burn money just to take a shot on, let's say, a favorite, but you don't know the. It's not that you don't know, but the thing is, with everybody, like you said, reset mode, and everybody coming to play for. It's been a while. It kind of reminds me. I hate to bring it up in horse terms, but a horse that's been off, not on the track for a while, and now he's getting back on. So certain trainers have tendencies to do well in that situation, but we're talking about teams now and cohesions and physical shape. Rust, so there's a lot of stuff. So I would probably say, how sharp is Vegas going to be on totals to start out with, and maybe the value side of betting might be on some totals, like you were saying, unders possibility, plus money sides. I think there be definitely worth a look, but I would probably tread lightly going in. I would probably look at maybe doing like quarter units, stuff like that. And if you want to take a shot with the plus money, more, the more better it would be on the return on investment if you were able to get those, decent numbers, like, high 50 percentile range. You do pretty well
Right.
for yourself. But it just depends on your bankroll, and then you're gonna have to come up with some type of model based on the sport. Like if you're going minus 110, like basketball and football, let's say, sports that are usually minus 110,
Right.
then those are the games that you could probably look at totals, probably look at maybe trying some value plays on unders, somebody like Noli,
Yeah.
might squeeze some numbers out there, for totals. And then the rest of it, you got to kind of just gauge it as it goes along. But you're definitely probably going to see what they consider soft numbers, I'm sure, and the books are kind of going to be a little bit conservative in the beginning, I would think.
I would think so as well. I think it's gonna be kind of tight as well, but at the same time, like you said, boss, there's gonna be some resetting to do, and maybe they might connect all the dots like you're thinking. They might be connecting dots in like those big games, being really upon those some of them big games, but some of these smaller games that not understanding these type of players or what they're really out here trying to do. They're probably some of these players are just really out here trying to like see what they could do for the next season, build for the next season. These it's really interesting, man. It's a lot of stuff to add into this,
I,
the
w-
What, what,
I would
what,
captivity.
say basketball would probably be the I'm not gonna say the easiest sport to maybe break down, because basketball, you have more of an individualized effort. Like one guy can make a big difference on a team, in basketball, where football or even hockey for that matter, it's a little different setup, but basketball, you can have a bigger impact with a star player or a key player, to go in and break down, just. And then I know what you guys do with your matchups. That's like yourself, Ski, J Money. You guys are pretty in tune with what these guys are capable of doing. So you guys would have the upper hand when it came down to breaking the numbers down. I think versus the books would. You guys you'd be
right.
sharper against the books in NBA than they would in the other sports.
That's
That's
what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping
Yeah,
for.
because I'm trying to figure out, and maybe you guys can help me. Like, okay, so realistically, with our thinking caps on, where are the line setters are gonna go find their edge? Like, okay, maybe they get into some practices or some training sessions, or they one-on-one with some beat writers who could tell them a little bit about what's going on the floor at the time. But just like we just mentioned right there, we don't know what type of emotional, physical, other factors of the game can affect these players. Like you said, Wham, some players might be, I mean, some teams might just be wanting to get a look for the next year. We don't know what those objectives are. They don't know what those objectives are. The biggest edge I think they could have is getting into those training sessions prior to the game starting. But I'm sure ESPN is going to give us a look at some of that stuff. We'll be able to see some stuff from the beat writers on that too. So I think it's an even playing field.
Well, I think we're gonna be on point. You know what I mean? We're gonna be smart because I look at this type of layout that they have so far. Like you said, Big Ragu, it's kind of like inevitable that they trying to have Zion in the playoffs. So I look at their schedule. It's not funny, but they're playing Memphis twice, which is having the eighth seed, and they have like the easiest schedule compared to like a lot of the teams that's possibly like looking for lower seeding and all these different type of things and variables. Like you look at all those things, with it only being 8 games left, it's kind of like we're really somebody kidnapped half the season and then we got our kid back and then now we got to finish raising our kid. Like that's how I feel about this season. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those crazy things there. You know what I mean? But I like this comment right here. It's funny as hell though, Razzle. You gonna see.
That's our boy Dom. Is that Dommy?
Yeah, that's Dom.
You know it is. This is my guy.
He's coming out putting bet-wise on top of that too, right? That a boy Dom.
As you should.
Let's give a shout out to our chat, man. Shout out to Bird Girl, Prince of the City, and also Betwise hanging out with us. A few people, a few looky-loos back there, but a couple of them in the chat, man. Y'all feel free to hop in the chat, ask us some questions. This is what we do. Our cabin consists of a lot of knowledge, a lot of different angles, turning stuff upside down, looking at it on some other angles, and that's just what we do right here. It comes second nature, but I just think it's gonna be tough for them to find the edge. And I like I said, I've seen them all the way wrong with XFL. And as to what Big Ragu was saying about starting off slow with it, I don't know. Because we saved a lot of money by not betting over the last few months, I think maybe we go a little more aggressive because I've seen a lot of players like Noli and Al that they had those angles ready for when XFL took off, and they jumped on their angles right away, and it was way more profitable for Noli to go like 4 weeks in a row, betting big. With his angle he had on the unders, which his angles when the under made a lot of sense. It all had to do with the kickoff, the way that they did the kickoff. He figured it was anticipated that the game go at a faster pace, that it would score points, but the kickoff didn't really offset the game as much, so the game went at a slower pace. But he had that angle, and he started from the get-go, and he smashed it. Al had another angle of his own, and he smashed it. So, I don't know. Basketball, whatever one come back first, I mean, bet size proportionate, you know what I'm saying? But jump in there and get your money because they're going to adjust. We know the market's going to adjust. And, that window's only open for so long. Like me, myself, especially like in baseball, there's teams you could follow for weeks and weeks and weeks, fall on, 8, 9, 10 game trends and stuff like that. And sometimes I feel like if I didn't jump on them on game 1 or 2 or 3, it's too late. After the third one, I'm like, it's too late, man. If you jumping on late, it's too late. So I don't know about that, but let's jump into some college football, though. So, Big Ragu, I'm going to start with you because you had a chance to write an article about the SEC, man. Talk to us about the SEC. As far as I'm looking at the SEC right now, a few things that are rumored out there is that might be Alabama's year this year because LSU lost a lot of players to the draft. Might be Georgia's year this year, too, because they're doing all the different efforts to bring the right people in there so they can win their side. But Florida's not too bad as well. But they did what's his name? The Frank he got he traded. I mean, he transferred off from Florida somewhere else. So those are a few exciting things that I know about SEC. But now that you looked at it a little bit deeper, anything sticks out over there in the SEC? You said you like Tennessee as an underdog over there.
Tennessee. Now this is for 2021 recruiting class. They have the number 2 national and number 1 in the SEC, and then right behind them is Georgia and Florida in the recruiting class. Even better than our guys. What do you call Clemson, right? So, anyways, but Clemson's not in the SEC. So what we have here is, if you notice last year with Tennessee, they finished up the season with 6 big wins. They started off slow. They lost to I remember you had Tennessee this game. They played Utah, didn't you? And then Tennessee got beat by Utah. I think early in the season, and then they had a real sorry loss to a small school early in the year too. But anyways, they started real slow. They got hot at the end. They won 6 in a row, and they won a close game in the bowl game. And this is Pruitt's 3rd year. And I wasn't necessarily putting them on point to go all the way this year, but the more I started looking at it, I said, you know what, it's going to be strictly a value bet because of the fact that it is the 3rd year, and they do have talent, and they finished strong. They got a good defense, solid running game. They got a decent quarterback. He's coming back this year, so they have 12. They got 12 starters coming back.
Oh, nice.
12. I think they got 12 starters coming back. I think 6 and 6 or 7 and 5, whatever it is. They're in all the skill positions. They're loaded up. The defensive line is solid. Offensive line is solid. But I think they've done a very good job at recruiting. Outside of Tennessee, like Florida, Georgia, getting some of their top talent. And they got like 2 number 1. I think they got the number 1 defensive end in the country and a number 1. 2 defensive players like top in the nation on the line, and they got a pretty good running back too. They got one of the top backs, so their running game is going to be solid. Their offensive line is going to be good. Defense line is going to be good. But the thing I like about them is, going in this year, I think they're going to carry some of that momentum over it. But they got 2 tough games. This is why I like them. I took a shot with them for the SEC because they got to play Oklahoma the 2nd game of the season. They got to go to Norman and play them over there, and then you got a favorable schedule coming home. They're going to play the Gators at home. They got to play Alabama at home. I think they even play Georgia at home later in the season. So they got 4 top 10 teams they're going to be playing. So if they win like 2 of those, if they beat Oklahoma early in the season, they'll automatically be a top 10 team. And then they got to play the Gators 2 weeks after that. If they beat the Gators, they'll probably be in the top 5. So they've got a good opportunity to showcase what they really have. It might be a little premature for them maybe to be put on the national spotlight, but they're going to showcase what they have, and I think they got some major talent on that team, and they're going to do they could have had 10 wins last year. They wind up getting like 8 with those 2 losses they had early in the season. So they were 2 games away from a 10-win season, and pretty solid. So
I could tell you,
Alabama's going to take their step up. Like you said, LSU is going to step off a little bit because of the coaching changes that they have and some of the talent that they lost, major talent. But they got plenty of weapons too, LSU. But I think they're going to be a step below, Bama and Georgia. I think Georgia's going to be I think Georgia's going to surprise some people this year. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year.
They might be a little bit better.
They're supposed to be a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought they were supposed to be better.
Well, they got a transfer coming. They got a transfer quarterback coming in. Yeah, I forget where he's coming in from, but they got a nice transfer quarterback coming in. JT Daniels from USC was. They didn't say if it was for sure he was going over there, but I know he was a hot top prospect going over there too. So
I like it.
I never really felt Fromm was a great player on that Georgia team. And I think that I noticed from when we played them and when Notre Dame played them, notice I say we when I say Notre Dame, but I didn't play not one down. But when we played them, you know what I'm saying? I noticed that our method in beating them was using our speed around them. They do have some big, strong linemen up front, but they can't move side to side well, and that's how we got at them real fast. And I noticed they suffered with that. good, solid SEC teams that want to play in the trenches like that, they'll go toe to toe with Georgia. But if you like teams like Clemson or people that got strategies to try to, I can go through you or around you, they seem to have trouble with them. But I like what you're saying about Tennessee too. Only thing I think about Tennessee happened just like you said, early in the season they caught some bad losses. I think at the beginning of the season they wasn't fully committed into the coach's plan. And as they took that loss, it took a couple steps back for them. But somewhere in there, around like the sixth game or somewhere, the coach and everything clicked. And once it clicked and they started understanding the system, it worked out for them. So if the coach feels he has a grasp, like we said, and you know how I feel about third-year coaches too. If you're a third-year coach and you have a grasp, they buying into the system. You got fresh meat coming in as well. It's a lot of volatility and opportunity for them right there. But in the SEC, though, I can see them maybe getting past Oklahoma, but they had to go see Alabama because Alabama's going to be hungry next year. I mean, you can't look past Saban. He's going to be hungry. With LSU out the way, LSU basically had a super team this year. With the super team out the way, it's back to running their program, you know what I'm saying? But we got the Mississippi State thing going on over there too, right? With who's that, Leach over there at Mississippi State?
Right, two new coaches. You got Leach and you got what's his name, Kiffin. He's in the SEC West too.
Yeah, and Leach is bringing over. He's bringing over a quarterback as well. Man, I did all this studying, but I didn't write nothing down.
That's all right.
But
we'll break those down.
Leach is bringing over a quarterback as well. But as far as the transfer, the best transfer I see, and it got to be something fishy with this one. I'm gonna pull out my conspiracy theory glasses with this one because Derek King going over to Miami, and from Houston. Yeah, this was the guy. I think he beat UCLA. He had a couple bad games, but he jumped out fourth game of the season. Not only did he get the red shirt, so he'll be able to play right away the next year, but then he bumps up to Miami. If you look at a lot of the transfers, a lot of people transferred down. Very few people transferred up. Most people transferred down. Here's a guy coming from a school like Houston, transferring up to a school like Miami, and as a quarterback level as well. It's a conspiracy to me that they did some negotiations way prior to this season coming out. So that could be a key piece for Miami because Miami.
No, he will be.
Social media.
I think he was one of those players that I did like when Major Applewhite was coaching him, and then once they got rid of him and he had another coach, it was a little bit of a shaky thing. That's before he actually made that transfer move. So I think he's going to be in a good spot. Yeah, I think he's going to be
from
in a
West
good
Virginia
spot this time. Yeah, from West Virginia, that guy. Yeah. So I think he's going to be in a good spot. He's going to be somebody that's wanted. He's going to feel wanted and all that good shit. So, but at the same time, I want that. Oh, go ahead, boss. Go ahead.
I was going to say Miami. They like those young, quick-witted, fast quarterbacks that can move out of the pocket. They've always liked that. Like they had the kid last year. They couldn't get their guy straightened out for the pass. Actually, that was Diaz's first season last year, right? So they tried to experiment. Remember when we were in Miami? They started the third stringer. He stepped up. He moved up the ladder pretty quick. So they're still looking for answers in Miami at quarterback. So I guess they really like this kid King, and he was a good quarterback. I thought when we broke him down last year, Boston and I did. We thought he was a talent, major talent. We thought they were going to score a lot of points, and then but with the new offense, I guess whatever Hokerson had in his brain, he just figured that he wasn't a fit for him, and then he just kind of gave up on the season.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry about that, sir. I was just saying, I feel the same way. I agree. I definitely agree.
Oh, the other one was Mike Leach brought in Castile from Stanford, who was the injured quarterback, got injured early in the season at Stanford. This is a promising quarterback, but the media is on that transfer a lot, and I think a little less of it because at Stanford, a quarterback is a facilitator only. He's never was signed up for a role to do the job that he's gonna have to do over here where he's going, and he's coming off an injury, and I'm not likely to injure players. I think that's a crap shot at him coming over there. Maybe Mike Lee sees something in him that's gonna fit perfectly in the season. I mean, in his system, but I don't think that it's gonna be a big fit at the end. Maybe like Mike Leach is doing too much. Maybe bit off more than he could chew. But I'm sure Boss in the Sauce. We'll get into that when we do our breakdowns.
Well, Leach is probably thinking if he went to Stanford, he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders too. So maybe the point that he's got athletic ability, and then he's not worried too much about the discipline side of things. So he's seen something in film that he really liked to make an offer to the kid to kind of sway him to come over to with him down in Mississippi State. So he probably made pretty good promises, with talent, that he'd have the available talent to, further his career. Now he's a graduate transfer, right? This kid Castillo?
Yeah.
Or is he an underclassman?
I believe he's a graduate transfer.
Yeah, because he wouldn't start right away if he was an underclassman. I don't know what's going on now. Who knows, but
yeah,
I don't know.
But our guy Wham knows a lot about the Pac-10, man. I got a couple questions on the Pac-10 too, Wham. Especially one about JT Daniels. Like to me, I find it a little bit funny that JT Daniels was supposed to be the guy for USC starting the season. When he got injured, Solis barely came in for a game or two. Had some big games, and then Solis kind of went down a little bit. But Solis' skill set, being that he was coached under Kurt Warner, I guess USC's going to side with riding with that. But for JT Daniels to jump up out of his seat and jump out of there when he was supposed to be the man, I think that's hilarious, man. What do you think about that?
I mean, it was so crazy, bro, because that was something that just caught me off guard. So I really can't really contest on like any of that. For them to be coming out there, like got us confidence saying it was QBU, bro, like they was DBU.
Three of
They
them.
was going around. Yeah, they had three of them, bro. So come on, I don't really want to go ahead and comment too much on that because it kind of caught me off guard, bro. To be honest with you, I like JT Daniels, him going down. He was playing good, bro. I just feel like their offense is always pass heavy. They just pass way too fucking much. They need to run the ball a little bit fucking more. It's just ridiculous, bro. And I wanted to actually ask you guys who we was talking about SEC. One of the first games is USC versus Alabama. Like that's one of the first fucking games, and we got a red shirt of a junior and Mac Jones, right, with the quarterback for
Alabama.
For Alabama, yeah. Like, how the hell you a red shirt junior, bro? I need this shit cleared up, bro. I can't believe
well, you can red shirt any year you want in college. You could red shirt your last year. You could be a red shirt senior. If you want to sit down for a year, you could take that year off, and then you have that extra year. I call it extra year, but you'd be what they call a fifth year senior. When they do that, and that's what a lot of these guys are doing for these graduate transfers. They're actually fifth year seniors because they sat out earlier in their season, earlier in their career at one point in time, maybe as a junior, usually a freshman. That's usually the way they do it. But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that that's Derek King to the T right there because he redshirted that last year and he only has 1 year to play over there.
Yeah, so. I think up to 4 games now they changed it. Like if you don't play more than 4 games, then you can redshirt that year.
Yeah, so if you redshirt that year, that's like sitting out that year, so you don't have to wait that year out. You can start right at the end of that year. That's why I say it was something fishy with him buying into that 4 games into the season. Like, I don't know, as a lineman, you know what I'm saying? Lineman, we build that wall. It's about a trust system and all that kind of stuff. And you got players over there that's like, you know what? This didn't work out in the middle of the season. I'm going to just leave y'all again. Wait a minute, man. We was running red laps. We was doing extra weights. We was pumping each other up, patting each other on the back. And you just go turn your back on us like that. I don't understand where that culture has came in football because that was definitely not a part of chain link defenses and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, it's crazy, bro. When you think about like a lot of those different changes in this league, it's going to even be more changes now that we have all these different restrictions on top of health and everything, man. So it's just crazy that we got to not only come into this season, with new freshmen, new offensive, new coaches, we're coming in here with all these different variables. It might not be a ankle sprain anymore in the NBA, bro. It might be the freaking COVID-19 shit, bro. This shit is crazy.
You know, no matter where you work, you can self quarantine for 2 weeks. So any of the players
Right,
can pull up and say, "I want to sit down, man. I think somebody got me."
right.
But so why we talking about college football and the whole COVID thing and everything? So one of the biggest things that's talking about college football is that no crowd in college football is very, 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 very substantial part of the game in college football. I mean, that's why it's called game day college
Right.
football because it's all about the crowd. It's all about the fans. These guys are having pep rallies, bonfires, all type of stuff leading up to these games and without that presence on the field, and we've seen some of these UFC things. It's kind of a dry sandwich, you know. No mayonnaise, no mustard, no nothing. You know, just raw bread, meat,
You
cheese.
you you think a glorified practice is what it's going to be in real time, though? I mean, as far as the sound goes, I heard rumors they're going to pump sound through the stadiums, not in college, but in pros. They were talking about doing that,
Yeah,
putting some noise in the stadium. So what are you going to have? Home noise advantage? Is that what they're going to do? They're going to
at
have
home. Yeah,
whoever has the best PA system is going to have the advantage for home noise.
Home
We'll
noise
see.
I have
advantage.
no idea. But now that I'm discussing it with you guys, I'm thinking all those activities leading up to the game that they have in college football is enough to make the momentum for for the team to go in and play the game. You think so? True? What you think?
I mean, I think it's like you said, he's going to be leading up to pep rallies, all these different things. They're still going to be having these damn pep rallies. I'm excited to see the little sky point, and it looks like the We the North, what they call it, the Jurassic Park. I want to see what the Jurassic Park look like outside these student sections. They're gonna still want to come out there and party and shit. They
'Cause
Yeah.
already
it,
got
it,
the
it should be social distancing tailgating. I don't see no problem with them taking away tailgating. So
like
maybe you
around the
may not
corner.
have that type of intensity inside the stadium, but you could just as well hear it from outside while you playing the game. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's time to pull out that bankroll, Big Ragu. I smell an investment in some type of tailgating something.
It really depends on when they start the season because I've seen different models on how they're going to start up. Like if they start in August, then they're definitely going to be more of a limited, if not any, crowd participation. But if they go to October for that second model, then some of these universities like I'm going to say Ohio State. They're talking like 35% capacity, up to 50% capacity. So they'll still
Yeah.
have some noise in the stadium. So it's not going to be like it's going to be like a pin drop. Like I watched some of the German soccer when they started up. Man, you could just hear the guys screaming on the field, echoing. It sounded like they were in the hallway somewhere, just yelling and screaming. But it's kind of weird feel. But they're playing the game, they're doing their thing. Like the wrestling on Monday nights. Raw. I watched a little bit of wrestling.
Yeah,
It's
man.
it's eerie. It really is eerie watching it. But
Very, very.
you know,
I grew up watching wrestling. I just never expected like you we ever get to a point that you're wrestling, and it really is like, and I don't really think some sports really divide. Like you really need the crowd. Like I for sure, golf is a great sport. Tennis, we want the crowd there to clap and shit, but we don't really need the crowd there. We do need the ball boys though. The fact that they got to run and get their own balls, that's some
right?
bullshit.
Oh, they
That's
got.
some bullshit.
Hey, he's running away from him. Why can't he chase the ball down? It's not like he's going to be
That's,
right on top of
he
him.
gonna roll his
Hey,
damn ankle trying to get the ball, bro.
hey, you fade all the lazy players, all the prima donnas. I'm fading them all. What? You grew up rich? Oh, you're not going to get that ball.
For sure. No, you ain't gonna get that ball. But if you from Brazil,
You're
it's
not used to
automatic.
that. You're not used to having to go get
You're
that
gonna get
ball.
that
That's
shit.
ain't nothing.
That's funny. That's funny as fuck. That's funny.
Hey, did you see what Prince said in the chat? He said that
Oh yeah.
KD has just said he's not going to play this season.
Wow, wow. That's very interesting as well. I think that has a lot to do with they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? They probably, you know what it really is too? they had this players meeting just today, I believe. Yeah, they had the players meeting today.
Yeah, the
They
player
probably
meeting
told
was
him straight up like, "Hey man, it's about me and Giannis." LeBron stood up and was like, "This about me and Giannis this year. You sit your ass down, wait until next year."
Hey, Wham,
uh,
what about when they get done with this season? They're gonna turn around and get started pretty quick on the next season, right?
December 1st. Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
expecting
So
it to be like December 1st. I actually have some more of a layout here. So like I didn't really go all the way until I started talking about the testing beginning on the 22nd. On the
yeah,
20 on the 30th, that's when they're beginning training camps. We did talk about that. Now in retrospect, the starts of the actual seasons when they're in Orlando. So in July 7th, they're going to travel to Orlando. 31st begin to restart the season. So the 31st is the beginning of those 8 games. The lottery, the lottery is going to start after the lottery is going to start in the middle of the playoffs. So it seems like it's going to be in the middle of the playoffs.
the
mhm.
The
lottery, huh?
lottery, yeah, the lottery for the NBA is going to be in the middle of the playoffs on the 25th of August. The NBA last game, if necessary, Game 7 of the finals, which is scheduled to be on the 12th of October. So I'm anticipating us having some real nice, juicy looking parlays because now we actually have some real NBA meaningful games on the playoffs alongside with the NFL games, which is week to week. They're really needing those early games and these college games that we're talking about. We're breaking down. Some of these teams probably not going to ever play this school ever again. You know what I mean? Some of these schools are never going to play. So we're going to get a lot of stuff around and some meaningful shit, man. It's
Yeah,
going to be
it's
real
going to be
exciting.
a lot of sports crammed in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, and you're going to have
I got a question.
overlapping.
I got a question, and I was kind of wondering about that when they was talking about it on the news that they're still gonna do 7 game series in the playoffs. I think
Hmm.
in order to cut the curve of them merging into the next season, I was thinking that at least the playoffs will be cut down. So at least like it used to be, I think like the first round was 5 games and then 7 games from there. But they talking about 7 game series all the way throughout the playoffs, man.
So they Adam Silver came out yesterday and had a conversation with the TNT crew. Basically said that Michael Jordan was one of the most legal people. Was like, we don't want to be no type of gimmicky or we don't want to play around with this. We want to kind of make it still as historic and traditional as possible, and keeping it like that, shortening the season to 70 games because these 8 games for most of the teams involved is going to equal out to 70 games in total. So they're gonna that's what the reason for the shorten of the 8 games is to make that kind of like the sacrifice since we lost so much stuff and just still have it a regular ass playoffs. But I actually
Well,
like it like that, bro.
I heard it was a money thing that they were saying, you got the players on one side saying, my contract is for this many games at this amount of money, and the player, the teams on the other hand, like, hey, well, I want to get my money worth of what I'm paying you, and I need you to go in there. But I think I don't know, which y'all don't think it should be a shortened playoff for this season like this,
Nah, you don't want it
seven
to be
games.
you don't you want it to be as less asterisk as possible. So if you do 70 games regular season, now you go back and look at this full breakdown, like when you try to say, hey, the Lakers really didn't win this season because we're gonna win. So the Lakers really didn't win. Well, we actually played 70 games and we played a full playoffs. So you're telling me 11 games or 12 games is a big difference between 82 and making it asterisk or not? Like that's pretty much what they wanted to do.
I totally respect that. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, look at the conditions that they're gonna have to play this season, the rest of the season under. You at one spot, it's like being at a big, huge tournament every day. Not only do you got to get up and play the games, you live there. You know what I'm saying? For that period of time, I would have thought, in respect to the players, we try to shorten your time being away from your families and stuff like that. But is it going to be something like they're going to be playing like every day, or because I heard the courts there they can have like so many games going on at one time is so huge. Are they going to run it like so many games a day to speed it up?
Yeah. Ragu mentioned it. Yeah, he mentioned it. Oh snap.
Shout out to Flipper in the chat. Shout out to BetWise Sportsnet. Make sure you go subscribe to BetWise on YouTube while you over here on YouTube. But yeah, that's very interesting, man. going into college football though, I don't know, Big Ragu. It's probably gonna be a couple more weeks. I see that Phil Steele said a few things. You know, he's all in the go. He said he's already did some of his phone interviews with some coaches and stuff. So looks like
Yeah,
we're gonna start getting that information.
he's usually doing campus tours. Like we broke down the numbers on how many campuses he actually visits every year. I'm sure that's probably nil at this point in time. Just via teleconference or phone calls, and then with all the coaches, whatever they have on their plate nowadays, just trying to organize stuff behind the scenes. I don't know how much time they're really going to give him either. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's going to be touch and go. That was the thing I was going to start to write about that too. Was the restart of college or the start of college football. With the scenarios and how to approach it from a gambling perspective. Just to kind of put something in early season mode, just to kind of
Right.
maybe bet some futures, you know, just
Put everything
everything
in
is taken
perspective.
with a grain of salt. You got to do it that way, but to maybe look at some futures bets on conferences, I would probably look at the Power 5 conferences, because I'm going to think that the information is going to probably not that it's going to be any truer or better coming from those, but there's probably going to be more media focus on those schools. So the information coming from those campuses is probably going to be more readily available than trying to get something on some of these smaller schools that we like to dip into and try to
Yeah.
get the edge on. So I'm going to be
Yeah, well,
looking to the Power
I
Five.
keep my ear to the street in the Mountain West, and Mountain West, as far as some of the smaller conferences, they have one of the best web supports and TV programming and all that good stuff. They kind of geared for the sport. So, but I haven't really indulged too far into the Mountain West. I got to get in Mountain West mood to do Mountain West. But notable Rocky Long is gone over there at New Mexico, and they got a new coach over there. That guy, he did his time. It was time for him to do his thing. So, and of course, Jay Novell, he's gone over there as well in the Mountain West. So it's a lot to talk about in the Mountain West. I'm gonna sharpen up my swords, tighten up all my good stuff. So when we get back to those breakdowns, me and the Big Ragu, we had some of the most awesome preseason breakdowns last year. If you didn't get a chance to check it out,
Amazing.
go look it up. It's up there for you, man. It was really, really good. So it's a lot of hard work put into that, Big Ragu.
Yeah, a lot of hours. But I'm excited for it. Like you were saying, giving Betwise a shout out. So just for the guys watching, tonight, I don't know if we got on the StreamYard with our channel, but it's going to be something that DJ and I are going to do every week when the timing's right, and we're going to be able to triple up on our viewership across the board.
That's
So we're
right.
one big happy
Absolutely.
family, Betwise and Who-Bangin.
Yep,
That's it.
we
Exactly.
banging it bedwise.
Exactly. We banging it bet wise. That's right. That's right. That's it.
But
Hey,
yeah,
but
man.
I wanted to go in as well, man. I appreciate you guys for doing this, man. This is one of those things that I definitely look forward to. When it's time for us to start capping college football, this is like one of those things I actually have to have. I don't feel comfortable betting no more by myself because without having Ragu giving me, his breakdowns and later on, especially when I don't have you guys around and I see where you guys are going with your guys' bets, afterwards. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I should have literally just had this conversation with them and I would have been off this play or I would have been doubled up this play, so on and so forth. But it's a blessing to have you guys here. I appreciate you guys, man. This is a
We
good thing to
appreciate you
do.
too, my man,
Oh, yeah,
in
for
more
sure.
ways than you think. Trust me.
Shout out to our guy Flipper in the chat.
That's
He
right.
says, give him the conference where
Yeah,
the info is hard to find to come by. There you go, right there, Flipper. You got the
we could
whack, okay? You take the whack. See what you can find out in the whack.
That's for sure. That's for
give him
sure.
the
Hey,
Big
Michelle.
Sky Conference.
Yeah, you get the big sky, man. I'm sure, but wait, we are laughing at it. It's kind of funny, but at the same time,
Love,
Flipper is the man for the job. If
for
we had
sure.
to pick anybody, he's
Oh,
definitely getting
100.
the call.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Can't wait to be down there, man, and get to hang out with all the family, man. We all get together. It's gonna be a good, nice vibe, bro. We're gonna get really good, meaningful games. I think that's when it's gonna be perfect to travel,
So,
to be honest.
So since we live, I see Dom Ricci's in the chat, Flipper's in the chat, and we right here. There's plenty more low baggers around watching or that'll see this though. When we gonna set up this low bag event in Vegas when it comes back? Looks like if basketball is gonna be starting in the end of July, we're gonna have preseason for NFL starts August, first week of August. So maybe into August, our normal time right there. That what is it? The
Middle part of like late middle August, something like
late
that.
August, like the first week of college. Just like that same amount of time we was down in Miami, for that
Right.
first what do they call that week? The week when everybody
Week
doesn't play.
0.
Zero
Week,
week, yeah. Maybe
yeah.
line it up for 0 week again, for Vegas, man, and then we turn around and we hit it again. At after
November.
Halloween,
Yeah.
November, and I'm really I'm telling you, I was sitting back the other day, man, and it almost brought a tear to my eye. I just started flashing all the good times I had with all my Capper family, in real time though. Vegas, Miami, IFBC, all that stuff. And I really miss you guys, man. We all have all of our, me and Wham, we see each other all the time. We got all kinds of other logistics to our lives, but our Capper fam, it means just a little bit more for us to come together for the sake of beating the books, you know what I'm saying, and having a good time. So I really caught a moment. I sent the text out to a bunch of Comic Ricky, Paco Healy, Noli Knows. I hit them all up that day. I'm like, man, just saying what's up, checking in with you, man.
Yeah, sure.
What's up?
It's real out here, and I expect to see everybody in Vegas when we set it off. Everybody that can make it, all the way from Gogi, Josh Point or Canadians, even the Twati Lottie back in the East Coast, Don
That's
Ricci,
right.
you name it,
It's a
some
big
of the
family
top
out there.
cappers, man.
Big
We
family.
need to all unite and go beat up the book. Social distancing though, social distancing.
Right. You could do it. You could do it that way, without a
Oh
doubt.
yeah.
That
Oh,
means
yeah.
Big Ragu, I won't be able to pass you your beer no more, man. You're gonna have to tell
No.
the waitress go ahead and get it for you.
I know, man.
But
It's
that's what's
crazy
up, man.
stuff.
Crazy shit.
But I'm gonna go ahead and close it up, man. I really enjoyed being back on camera with you, Big Ragu, talking about some college football, and
Yeah, it was
definitely had
good.
a wonderful time as usual. Wham, going over
Most definitely.
basketball. We've been through a cold. Me and you've been going since week 1. The shutdowns, trying to keep content going. We didn't talk
E-games.
about everything from e-games, ping pong, all kinds of stuff.
Shit.
But
But the funniest shit, I always tell you, everybody, every week, man, we've been talking about esports before this shit went down. I never really picked it up until afterwards. Like, okay,
Adam.
now, yeah, and
yeah,
Adam's my guy. Adam was
Shout out to
always,
Adam.
shout out to
shout
Adam.
out to
Adam's
Adam,
always
man.
killing, bro. Always killing, always putting me on the right spot, telling me if this is a good play or not, man. That's why I always try to tag my guy. If I'm making a play, try to tag my guy. He let me know if it's real or not. But you know how I be, bro. It's all love all the way around, bro. Can't wait to basketball, college football, NFL. We didn't even get to talk about NFL. NFL is gonna be crazy as hell. You see what's going on right now, all this crazy shit. It's gonna be
Right.
interesting as hell, and it's gonna be amazing to cap with the family. Can't wait, bro.
Looking forward to every minute of it.
All right, man. Shout out to the chat. Once again, make sure you like and subscribe. Who-Bangin Sports. Make sure you get over to Betwise, like and subscribe. Make sure you check out Trot Wham OG on Twitter, Big
Right.
Ragu 62 on Twitter, and check out me, Big Boss on
Absolutely.
Twitter.
That's
And we
right.
out of here.